We have a very exciting class for you today. So thanks for joining us. My name is Jeremy Capone. I'm the wellness chef here.
And I'm Stephanie Gladman, the registered dietitian. So today we're going to speak about healthy snacks to boost energy levels. So often, either during treatment or after treatment, sometimes people experience cancer-related fatigue, right? So that is an emotional, physical, mental tiredness that is very common, again, with people during treatment, but even sometimes afterwards. And this could make shopping for food, preparing food, or even eating well quite difficult. And so today we've kind of organized some snacks because that have the components of just nutrients or types of ingredients that you want to boost up so that when you're preparing them, you can make sure that they're easy and crisp, but quick, but also making sure that you're getting the energy and the right nutrients that you need. Right, so let's get to it.
Yeah, perfect. So these recipes here, we actually developed with some students from George Brown College. So it was a nice little collaboration project where we were really focusing, like Stephanie mentioned, on recipes that might help to manage fatigue in terms of the ingredients themselves, but even the preparation of the recipes. So we wanted to make them as easy as possible because cooking for some can be fun. I do enjoy it, but it can be exhausting as well. So we really wanted to try to make these fairly simple. It's funny actually, this is the first class I haven't had my knife out. I don't even need my knife for this class. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. It's more a lot of assembly. And the intention is for them to be sort of batch recipes. That's right. You can take this recipe and it'll have multiple portions. You can even make 4 or 5 times the recipe, and that way you can stock yourself up with a few of these snacks for later. So the first one that we're gonna do is a trail mix. It's not your typical trail mix.
Nope.
We're adding lentils to this trail mix, so we're making it a little different, adding some different spices as well, but this is all with intention. So the star of this recipe are lentils, right? Does anyone not like lentils? Yep, knew that was coming. So this might be a different way to try them. This is actually a pretty cool way to treat them. Is you just grab a tin of lentils, they're already cooked. You drain and rinse them, and then you lay them out on a sheet pan with a little bit of parchment and bake them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. And when you take them out, you get this, which are like crispy, almost shriveled, dry lentils. It's almost like a really tasty snack.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a different way to approach it.
And one of the reasons we chose lentils, so as Jeremy mentioned, it was intentional, is because they're high in protein. And protein is one of those nutrients that's really important because it helps maintain your energy levels. It also helps repair and rebuild muscles. And it also provides the minerals and vitamins that you need for your body to function. Okay, so it has iron, right? These are one of the ones that is really important as well. So everybody's protein needs are different. So, if you're wondering what your specific needs are, it is important maybe talk to a registered dietitian or your doctor to specifically find out. But lentils, chickpeas, beans, we always go for more of those plant-based type of proteins. But of course, maybe not in this recipe, but just so you know, other types of proteins that you want to look out for are coming from fish, poultry, meats, egg, and dairy foods. Okay, so that's one of the things that you want to look out for. Yes. So that's great.
Perfect. So that's the first thing that's going to go into our mixing bowl. The second thing is a selection of some different nuts and seeds. So we have pumpkin seeds, we're using almonds, and we're using walnuts. Now, you can definitely choose other nuts and seeds that you like. We did choose these specifically, right?
Yes.
So the walnuts, I think in particular as well.
Yeah, so walnuts are also high in omega-3s. So that's a type of fatty acid that your body can't make on its own. You can also get it from different sources like fatty fish, like salmon, chia seeds as well. And again, this is important for anti-inflammation. Okay, so often with cancer, the body tends to be in an inflammatory state. So, some people use medication, but there are also types of foods that are high in that have anti-inflammatory properties. So those are the omega-3s that we're using.
Pumpkin seeds.
So pumpkin seeds, well, actually all nuts in general have a high amount of iron. Okay, so this is a mineral in the body that is used to help transport oxygen in red blood cells. And so obviously you need enough oxygen and the iron in your red blood cells, because without it you would feel tired, irritable, or weak. Okay, so really getting enough iron in the diet is also really important, and lentils also have iron as well. So these are great sources. Now, you can find iron in animal-based foods, and it's actually better absorbed in the body. But since we're focusing on the plant-based foods, what we suggest to pair it with is vitamin C. Okay, and that helps your body absorb that iron more efficiently from the ones that are those animal or the plant-based iron sources. So in this recipe, we're looking at lemon.
We're going to use lemon.
Yes.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Soon.
Soon.
All right, so we have our nuts and seeds, we have our lentils. Next thing, we're going to add some dried fruit. Sorry, with the nuts and seeds as well, if you want, you can toast those ahead of time. Toasting them is just going to enhance their flavor. It's going to bring out the oils a little bit. If you don't have time for that, you can throw them in. But if you do have time, in the oven or even just in a pan on a medium heat, just toast them until you start to smell the nuttiness and you get a little bit of color, and then they can go in. Then we're going to add some dried fruit. So we're adding dried cranberries. I actually have a mix here. It's like dried cranberries and dried blueberries. Whatever dried fruit you want, we're going to put that in. You can see the skill level for this recipe is very high. I'm just pouring from one bowl into a bigger bowl. Pretty simple.
Yeah. And again, if you're feeling tired, it might just be one day you take some time to get all your ingredients, portioning it out, in different amounts, and then doing the mixing and the actual baking a little bit later on in the day. So again, making yourself have kind of some steps, even within the cooking process, to decrease the amount of tiredness or fatigue you might feel.
So we have most of our main ingredients in here into the trail mix. Whatever else you want to add at this point, like dried coconut or some sunflower seeds, sometimes if you have some maybe nuts and stuff you want to use up before it starts to get dry on you, throw them in here. So that's sort of customizable for you. Now we're going to flavor it up. We're going to add a little bit of seasoning. So I'm adding, and this again, you can change it up. We did pick it for a specific reason, but I'm gonna add a little bit of cumin to this. Cumin in a trail mix might seem a little odd, but it is tasty.
Yeah, so we've kind of gone on more of the savory version. Usually kind of trail mixes tend to be a little more on the sweeter side. So again, just a different approach to your snacks. And some people might have this, you could also include it in salads, or you could top it on top of soups, just again to boost up the nutrition content of whatever you're eating in order to get the amount of protein you need. Specifically for this recipe, it's for half a cup, it's about 7 grams of protein, right? So that is a good snack. If you wanted it more for a meal, maybe you would couple it with something else.
Actually, Stephanie made a great point. We tried this on a little bit of squash soup, and it was fantastic. So on yogurt, like as a breakfast item, but on top of soup, I think is a great option. We're gonna add a little bit of turmeric as well. This is gonna give it some nice color, some nice flavor.
Yeah, and it's also providing, again, those anti-inflammatory properties from the turmeric and the cumin. So different spices and herbs can do that.
So we're gonna toss this up, mix it up, make sure the spices sort of combine. Can you smell that? Is that an audible response to our mixing? Yes. We haven't even done anything yet, so just mixing it up. And then we're gonna add a little bit of honey. So this is gonna add a little bit of sweetness. It's gonna help to bind everything together as well. So we're gonna measure out.
Yeah. And again, there could be people who, for their snacks, obviously, eating, like I mentioned, throughout the day, having snacks at least, or small meals, every 3 to 4 hours, again, helps to maintain your energy levels. But of course, there are some people who are also managing their weight. So adding added sugar might be something you'd want to control. So for sure, measuring that out. And, again, something that we always talk about is by making your own mixes, you're able to control what you're including in those ingredients. So I guess, kind of looking and gazing what it would look like.
Yeah, so we're mixing this up. Again, the honey likes to clump together, so you want to just make sure you're breaking it up and mixing it evenly. A good sort of visual cue is that it's nice and shiny all over. So you don't have just sections that are shiny, but you want the whole thing to kind of be glossy. And that's pretty much it at this point. The last step, and remember, everything is already dried. So your lentils are already sort of toasted and the nuts are dried. So it only really takes about 5 extra minutes in the oven. So we're gonna put this on a sheet pan with a little bit of parchment paper. Now, we use parchment paper quite a bit in this class. If you've come to our class, often you see how much parchment paper we use. It's not just because I don't like to do dishes, but parchment paper is a great little tool to, again, limit the amount of energy that you're spending in the kitchen, right? A lot of times the prep can be fatiguing, right? It can drain your energy. The cleanup as well, it's almost worse, right? You're gonna scrub pans and scrub dishes. So anything that you can use to limit the amount of cleanup that you have to do afterwards is gonna save your energy. So again, parchment paper, it's a non-stick. You just take a sheet off, and that way I could just, do an easy wash and rinse of the pan, and I don't have to really scrub it, put too much energy into it.
And another thing is that because you're kind of just mixing all these things and then mixing it around in a bowl, you don't have to stand, right? So you could sit at the kitchen table, or if you have kind of a high-rise island, you could sit around that too. So again, conserving your energy even while you're cooking is one way that we advise people when they're making food for themselves.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much it. That's gonna go into the oven, 400 degrees, for about 5 minutes. This is one you don't want to walk away from because of the dried fruit. If you go a little too long, they're gonna become really hard, and it's not as enjoyable to eat. So 5 minutes is probably a good hard rule of thumb, and then let it cool. Once that honey becomes hot, it can burn you. So just take it out of the oven, let it cool down, and once it's cool, you can break it up, and then that's when you would add your lemon juice. So we're not adding it before, we're adding it at the end, so it's nice and fresh.
Yeah.
Okay, and I did some ahead of time, of course. And you can, like I said, that's one serving, or that's one recipe. I would easily, quadruple it and make like a big tub. This you can keep, it's dried, so you can keep it at room temperature for a few weeks, or even better, this freezes really, really well. You can put this in a freezer bag and put it into the freezer, and it'll last there for months. And because everything is dried, it won't really become hard on you. So you can actually, take a bit out of the freezer, throw it on top of your soup or yogurt, and you're good to go.
And now we've got the honey already.
This is the honey, the lemon juice already in it. Yeah. And it's, good to go. It's good to eat. So that's our lentil trail mix.
Yeah.
Yes.